Órale, Cholo Choque, los tres chingones boxing shots to all the chingones y chingonas. Oh, yes, some crazy stuff over the weekend, Holmes. Yes. Oh, yes, man. And I'm not talking about the Royal Rumble, although if you are a wrestling fan, I do have a wrestling channel called Wrestling Rehab where I cover wrestling. But no, just as good as something that was happening, some crazy stuff that was happening in boxing over the weekend. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Brandon Moore and Skylar Lacey, I think his name is. This fight, this was in the, I believe it was the co-main event or somewhere in the undercard of the Shields and Perkins on Sunday. This fight was horrible, man. Lacey, the guy that you see in red, the white dude, ran out of gas and was doing the most deliberately holding that I have ever seen since Devin Haney. This guy was worse. And he was just bum rushing him just to hold him. Eventually, referee Steve Willis, which I'll get to in a second, took a point away from him. And at some point, they fell in between the ring, fell on top of the table, the commentary table, where Sergio Mora, Chris Maddox, and some other dude, I forgot who it was, were doing commentary, fell on the table, broke the table. The referee, Steve Willis, and this is why I want to get to Steve Willis. Okay. I think that's his name, Steve Willis. I believe it is. If I'm getting it wrong, I'm getting it wrong. I've seen him call many fights. Okay. He starts counting as they're out of the ring. They fall through the middle ropes. He starts counting. All right. I'm expecting him to reach the count of 10. For one, I'm not sure what he's counting for. Both of these guys fell out of the ring and broke through a table. The Royal Rumble was the night before. We had a ladder match, and we had the actual Royal Rumble match where your objective is to throw people out of the ring. These both guys, man, maybe watched that the night before, and they just fell through the table. It was crazy to see. I've seen dudes. Okay, I've seen guys fall out of the ring. I have. As a matter of fact, Bernard Hopkins, last fight, he fell out of the ring. I've seen dudes fall out of the ring. What I haven't seen is guys fall out of the ring and then the referees start counting, like there's going to be a count out. And not only was the referee, I believe his name is Steve Willis. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. He's a veteran. I've seen him for years. And when he gets to 10, I'm like, okay, is this going to be some sort of double count out? What the heck's going on here? No. He goes to 11. He starts counting at 12, 13, 14, 15. He gets to like 17 or 18 before Brandon Moore gets in the ring. And then Steve Willis is like, he's in. That's it. It's over. It's over. It's like, wait, I don't, okay. So hold on. What number were you going to count to before you stop counting? I was thinking 10, but he kept counting. And then he started yelling out of the ring, one of you got to get up. One of you got to get up. Is this a last man standing match? What number are you counting to? Even the commentators were like, I've never seen that before. I've never seen it either. Now, Sergio Mora was saying like, hey, man, that was like WWE. I've never seen a count to 20 unless it was WWE. And let me correct you, Mr. Mora. In WWE, it's 10 seconds. It's not 20. So I got no idea what number he was going to count to because he went well past 10, the count of 10. And what's he counting for? He's just waiting to see who gets on their feet first. I got no idea. But nonetheless, Brandon Moore gets the victory. He made it in the ring. Willis was like, okay, he made it. That's it. It's over. It's over. It's over. But then the ring announcer goes ahead and says like it was a DQ or something of that sort. But I'm like, wait, if it was that, then what were you counting for? I don't get it. And what number were you gonna count to? I don't understand. I mean, this dude Lacey should have been disqualified. I mean, he was holding. Yes, you took a point away from him, but this dude was bum rushing more just to hold him in a worse way than Devin Haney was. I believe it was in the fight against Linares. But this was something crazy. But to, veteran referee, I'd like to ask him, what were you counting for and how far were you going to count? Were you counting to 20, 25, 30, 40, 50? Because you just kept going. But I mean, nonetheless, that was something new for me. I've never seen that. Like I said, I've seen dudes fall out of the ring. Yes. But I've never seen the referee start counting like it's going to be some sort of count out when both guys are out of the ring. And it's rare. I mean, first of all, it's rare that a fighter falls out of the ring. It's rare. You rarely see that. Seeing both guys fall out of the ring is even more rare. And then seeing the referee count, like, hey, I'm going to count both of you guys out. Like, what the heck? Nonetheless, it was it was exciting but confusing, man. It was. But hey, man, in that main event, and a lot of this fight kind of flew under the radar, and that is Danielle Perkins fighting Clarissa Shields. Now I know, look, Shields gets a lot of hate, and I understand why. I mean, I'm not that big of a fan of her either, but I also understand her frustration. But look, this was I get from what I understand. This was to unify the heavyweight division. This Danielle Perkins chick, this was only her sixth professional fight, which is what I want to get to in a bit. But the fight itself was pretty decent. You could tell that Clarissa Shields was just on another level, skill-wise, than Perkins. Perkins, to the best of my knowledge, does not have a great amateur pedigree. She picked up boxing late and she doesn't have much experience. Hell, this was only her sixth professional fight with little to no amateur experience. So it was easy to see Shields was a much better boxer. Now, the thing that Perkins had going for her is the fact that she was a lot bigger, and she was a lot bigger. Had she been smaller or even Clarissa's size, with the lack of skills that she had, I think Clarissa would have stopped her. She almost did. She knocks her down with a few seconds left to go in the 10th and final round. She gets back up though. But honestly, if she had the same skill set, but she was just a little bit smaller, if she was Clarissa's size, I think Clarissa would have finished her within 7 rounds, 6, 7 rounds, probably even less. So, yeah, the only reason why she stood in the fight was just because she was a lot bigger and she was able to absorb Clarissa's punches. Outside of that, it was easy to see, skillful wise, who was the better boxer, who was the better fighter. And hands down, it was Clarissa. Now, this is what I want to get to when it comes to Clarissa, right? Like I said, I know a lot of people don't like her. She has this attitude of that she's the best. She wants to fight dudes. She rains on other people's parade, like Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, saying like, no, 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 that she's the best, and people need to pay attention to her. Now, like I said, I'm not a fan of her either. I do understand her frustration, and this is what it is when it comes to women's boxing. Okay. When it comes to women's boxing, you got to go to the lower weight classes. Why? Because that's where most of the competition's at. If you want to be fighting at 154 or 160 and above, there's little to no competition up there. And that's where Shields fights. That's where she fights at. And I mean, look at this. She's fighting a chick who only had 5 fights, and you guys are fighting to unify the division. Okay, most girls, most girls do not weigh over 160 pounds. And the ones that do, most of them, if I'm gonna be honest, they're fat and out of shape. Now, there are some chicks that are, just big in size, right? They're taller, they're just their structure's a little bit bigger. Yeah, you could find, but for the most part, the population of women around the world, most women are not just naturally weighing 160 pounds. Naturally, most are not, unless they're fat. That's just the God honest truth. Not allow women become boxers when they think about sports. And if a chick is, you know, athletic and she's 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", which is tall, really tall for a girl. Heck, 5'11" is tall for a girl. Generally speaking, yes, there are women that are much taller than that. But again, that's rare. But if you have women that are that tall and they want to be in sports, most likely they're picking up volleyball or basketball. That's why, that's why there's not a lot of competition up there for Clarissa. So I understand her frustration. I understand where it's like, hey, listen, she wants to be the best. And in ways, people could say that she is the best. However, there's little to no competition there for her, right? So, I mean, it's got to be frustrating for her. I get it. And in my opinion, maybe she's probably doing the right thing, just having people hate her so people could pay attention, I guess. Like I said, I'm not that big of a fan of her. Whenever she fights, I do watch. She rubs people the wrong way, and maybe that's part of her plan because there's little to no competition for her. Because there's not a lot of women in the sport of boxing in those weight divisions. So, you know, what they were bringing up, like who's next for her, really, honestly, um, one of the best matches of last year was Michaela Mayer versus Sandy Ryan, and they're gonna run it again. Michaela Mayer beat Sandy Ryan, which was a badass fight the first time. If Michaela Mayer can meet Claressa Shields at 154, which Claressa Shields has fought at 154, Michaela Mayer would have to move up she'd have to move up to 154, which she says she's willing to do. I would think that's the fight to make. But in reality, man, I mean, dog, there's just not a lot of chicks that are in shape, that are in the sport of boxing, that are gonna be in those weight classes. So whatever it was worth for her to unify these titles that were kind of manufactured, there it is. But nonetheless, man, it was look, I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed watching these fights. It was kind of fun. It was on a Sunday. It was more of a chillax day, and it kind of flew under the radar. Not too many people knew about it, but yeah, I watched it. Obviously, there were some other fights on Saturday, and we will definitely get to that with the boys, man, on the live. Solo Choco, los tres chingones boxing shots, all the chingones y chingonas. Catch you guys on next round.